trick yourself into feeling more warm, summery, anything, aromatherapy, chirping birds, soundscapes, take a bubble bath. It's not your beach, but your body is not sure what it is. It's just together with your aromatherapy. And seriously, you just try it. Okay, how about this? You will approve this one, right? I have skeptics.
Maybe.
The skeptics. How about this? Color. Add color to your interior. Hello, beautiful people. Today, we're going to talk about winter blues. We've all experienced it more or less, especially if we live in an area where there is less light in winter, like maybe in northern regions. So a simple explanation of this is this. It's the balance between the two neurotransmitters or chemicals that carry messages throughout our nervous system. When it becomes dark, our body produces melatonin, right? Which helps to induce sleep. So when the days get shorter and darker in winter, more melatonin is produced and you feel sluggish, sometimes throughout the whole day, right? And then there is serotonin, which elevates your mood and makes you feel happy and satisfied when you eat. Serotonin is just the opposite of melatonin in that it's triggered by light. So during the winter, your body produces less serotonin and you're less cheerful and you have food cravings, particularly for carbohydrates.
And hibernation.
Believe it or not, when we produce a lot of melatonin and not enough serotonin, this situation can even affect our ability to think clearly and make good decisions. Scary, right? So when they poll people in the US, it looks like up to maybe a quarter of them in winter experience things like sadness, loss of interest in their regular activities, exhaustion, and weight gain. That's for sure my case. Every single winter, every single symptom. And I want to mention one more thing. Drinking, alcohol consumption. It's been shown again and again.
Oh, wait, hold on.
that any kind of drinking, but particularly heavy drinking, strongly depends on your latitude. Anywhere in the US, Canada, in European countries, and other regions. The farther you go from south toward the north, the heavier people drink toward the north. And again, the explanation is this naturally depressive state, practically inevitable when you don't get enough sunlight.
Self-medicating.
Yeah. And finally, there is something that is called seasonal affective disorder, contracted to SAD, SAD. So apparently, it can affect up to like 5 or 10% of people, at least here in the US. And sometimes I think, I don't know, maybe that's what I have after all. What do you think?
Well, I think it's, there's a range. And I think it's really important to be aware of this range because, yes, my understanding, which is completely imperfect, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, and frankly, I just haven't made a study of it.
Yeah.
But a lot of this, who doesn't feel a little bit down January, February, March?
Yes, everyone.
The excitement of the holidays, if you happen to enjoy the holidays, but that kind of gaiety and rush and colors and lights and festivities is over. And the reality is, particularly in your more northern climes, January, February, March is your crappiest weather. It's gray, it's snowing, it's cold, it's raining. It's not happy times to be outside.
It's the sameness too from
it's
day
the same
to
and
day.
it's not fun. And if you are someone that hates the cold, of course you're going to be miserable. But also, like, part of this with the serotonin in particular is what one of my understandings of true SAD. Well, of first of all, just being depressed, it is the lack of sunlight. So the days are shorter, less sunlight, but the weather's crap. So you're not going outside and you're not taking in enough sunlight. Now, if you're someone who adores skiing and you're like hitting the slopes in the winter, or someone who does something outdoors in the winter, I would say you're less likely to feel this because you're getting your sunlight. But most people, we do kind of want to hibernate where it's warm. So I think when you consider the statistics of this, what is the reality? Oh, 10%. That's a little deceptive. And
so maybe it's not our case.
Well, and particularly in the world today, you know, you need to dig down into the stats a little.
Maybe I'm drinking not because I'm sad, maybe because I'm happy.
Well, I think the point is, if you live in Florida, the people truly affected by SAD, seasonal affective disorder, which disorder.
Yeah.
It's a medical term. I mean, it's a recognized situation. It's disordering your life. You're having symptoms that are affecting your actual day-to-day activities. Okay, that's a problem, really. But in order to truly qualify, this is like you have to have a severity of symptom, and it has to happen at the same time of year and for a period of years before they will give you that medical diagnosis. It's not like we all have hardcore seasonal affective disorder. Now then many people get diagnosed with a mild version of it, but again, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, it's the worst weather months, but the thing, as I was getting back to, sorry, I'm drifting. In Florida, maybe the true percentage of people that are affected, 1.9. One of the things that I read. You go to Alaska, it's like 10% or more than 10%.
Wow.
Really, it's very different. So to look at just a national average, no. Where are you? You know, what is your latitude? Because that's going to come a lot closer.
I want to ask this question. It occurs to me, does self-pity contribute to this wallowing in winter blues? So what is self-pity, right? Being sorry for yourself. And sometimes we do find ourselves in a situation where we truly deserve pity, right?
Sure.
But I'm not talking about these extreme cases. I talk about this kind of self-pity, which is this nagging feeling of basically defeat. When you focus on everything that is going wrong, and your thoughts always go back to something negative, right? And maybe this feeling can be summed up with the words, I deserve better. Focusing not on what you have, but on what you don't have. Not on, future potential, but on the losses of the past. So once you allow your thoughts in this direction, at least in my case, it quickly turns into a downward spiral. And you basically start feeling like a victim. You kind of start blaming either yourself or others or both, and that's what self-pity is. And I'm pretty good pulling myself out of this mode of thinking, but I must admit, it does come back. And especially in winter. So maybe that's what happens to me occasionally. You know, what do you think? Self-pity.
I mean, it's hard to say. It really, self-pity is, in terms of winter blues, are they making a tendency in that direction worse? I guess they could. Absolutely. I mean,
well, they often talk
say.
about these two different things. There is, on the one hand, you have self-pity. On the other hand, you have self-compassion. And apparently, you know, there are massive difference between these two things. Because when you think about self-pity is something that is almost narcissistic. You kind of look at yourself and you just start noticing only the bad things. Almost you're fishing for what is sad and defeatist and, you know, bad about you. While self-compassion is, I guess, understanding of the negative things, but you are not exactly identifying with your mistakes or misbehaviors or whatever. You are bigger than that. You know, you're not just that. And another thing that I think where you're different, for instance, where the self-pity and self-compassion are different, you have to be your best friend, right? You have to have compassion for yourself because you are trying hard in life. But I think self-pity, as I said, it's almost always blameful. You're kind of like blaming. And yes, you can be blaming yourself or you can be blaming others, but it's blameful. While self-compassion is not blameful. Self-compassion, I guess, has to be more kind of like more constructive. In the end, you can test it probably by asking yourself a question. So these feelings of pity, defeat, is this feeling motivating me somewhere, to like improve something, to do something, or is it demoralizing me? When you focus on gratitude, this is something that can very clearly differentiate between your winter blues and your wallowing in self-pity. If you focus on what you have and being grateful for it.
I guess so. I think in some ways, gratitude, yes. We're lucky we're alive, that we're healthy. People have such burdens placed on them, and sometimes we don't even realize the terrible struggles other people have. And then you look at your own life and what's bothering you and getting you upset, and you're like, oh my gosh. And I feel this about my life like all the time. I get upset and I see some very bad things in my work. But then I'm like, I am so blessed. I have been blessed from day one.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that I don't have everything I want and it didn't all go the way I want. But with gratitude, I love it as a truly sincere, organic, and even habitual reaction of step back and do be grateful for what you have. But gratitude now has become kind of a buzzword, I think, on a lot of social media, hashtag gratitude. And I don't even mean to put that down. Maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh. But to me, dial it all back. Self-awareness, self-analysis. We're adults here. And as a healthy, functioning adult, and even frankly an unhealthy, somewhat unhealthy, but functioning adult, you got to go inside yourself and make these decisions.
Yeah.
Am I a little bit down? Am I run down? I want to sleep. I want to eat all the chips and nap on the sofa because no sunshine in 2 weeks. Sneezy, sniffling, cold. I don't really feel 100%. Everybody's cranky when it snows in New York, which, knock on the sofa, we haven't really had this year. Disaster.
You just said we're at a picnic here.
We're having a total picnic, knock on. So far this winter, it's been a total picnic here. But when it gets nasty, here in New York, everyone gets nasty because it's so miserable, messy, ugly, throws the whole transit system. Anyway, self-analysis, really, where are you with this? Where are you? And that's, you got to go inside yourself. Is this mild and you're going to feel better when the sun comes out? Or is it really big? Are you having a hard time quantifying, hard time analyzing? And maybe you need some outside help, but I don't know, the self-pity, I think it can become a habit. It can become a habit.
Exactly, and because it is a habit and all of us have experienced it, that's why I'm saying that, when you have a little bit of winter blues, next thing you're sliding full on into self-pity. And you need to kind of think about tools. You kind of need to think about tools, and I think gratitude, at least focusing on it, but just as Tanna said, not as this, kind of thing that you flaunt around. Yeah, the hashtag, gratitude. No, but as a tool of analyzing what you have and what you don't have.
Right.
So, for instance, another tool is asking yourself a question, literally, like trying to crystallize the thoughts that come to your mind. For instance, is it true that my luck is always bad? That I have bad luck here and here and here. Is it true that it is always bad? Practically everybody will say, well, maybe not. I was kind of lucky in this and this, right? Another question, you can say, so why do I feel like my life is ruined? And I do feel sometimes that my life is ruined. Occasionally it happens to everyone. So you ask yourself this question, and maybe it kind of sounds like maybe it's a little too much. Maybe it is not.
Too much drama.
Yeah, too much drama. Too much drama, exactly. So another tool that I have discovered is a kind of self-help tool is to and this is not something that you need to do when you experience this depressive mood of self-pity, winter blues. No, this is something that you do on the regular basis. If you experience feelings, or if you're in situations where you experience disappointment, grief, loneliness, these are valid things, right? It's not some kind of fluff. Anybody can experience grief, disappointment, loneliness. We all have, right? So when these things occur, you deal with them head on. You don't just brush them under the rug. Oh, okay, I'm all right. Well, things will be better tomorrow. Well, no.
Analyze,
they
identify.
will be better tomorrow, right? But you need to identify, and you need to give yourself a chance to experience those things. If you don't give yourself a chance, whatever you swept under the rug, it's like brewing there under the rug, you see. And then when there is a winter blues and it's a little dark around and maybe a little lonely, because in winter occasionally, we sometimes we just don't socialize this much, right, as in summer. Mm-hmm. So that's when from under the rug they are coming out and bite you in the butt. And so then two more tools that I have discovered for myself. One is to just simply kind of cut yourself at the moment when you feel like complaining. It helps me because I teach my 8-year-old son not to complain. Kids are all complainers to some extent. So I learned also to catch it in myself, to learn to catch this moment of complaint and just simply don't. Just don't. Like there is mommy standing next to you and you open your big kid mouth to start saying, ah, and then like close that mouth and just simply don't. So that is. And finally, the tool, which is heavy artillery, this is to completely move the focus from your own suffering to something else. And the best tool here is helping others, right? And yes, maybe you can have a friend who needs, help in dealing with her dance shoes in her closet. You can come and help. But literally, this is the classic situation where the best thing that helps you is some kind of heavy-duty charity, like dealing with people who really have problem in their life. Like maybe kids who are orphans and they need, some help in entertainment or teaching or donating something, or people who are invalids or people who are old, or something like that. So yes, the classic scheme is that your mind goes away from your own little petty complaints and everything to people who really,
worse,
to people whose situation truly, needs help.
I agree with this idea of well, to some degree, distraction. When you're helping people that are in, gosh, as I've said, some people's burdens are so heavy we can't even imagine. And that relative positioning, and you realize, and that's truly, you are then grateful for the fact that it's a small thing. But awareness analysis, I preach this all the time. Where are you on that spectrum? Is your mood, is this situation, is this depression? And self-pity, I think we give it a harsh connotation. Again, have you fallen into a habit and you are becoming your own worst enemy? You're almost
can you talk yourself out of it?
And you need to have some help? Or is there a remedy that can be applied? Because I think many remedies, if we're talking about winter blues and it's smallish, or it's a mild case of the seasonal affective disorder, there are things. Helping others, yes. And even if you're not going out and saving orphans at the orphan home, community, seek other people, learn to knit, be outside yourself, be outside the place. Because where do we really brood? I think it's when we're home alone. I think it's at night when you're trying to sleep. When you're busy and engaged during the day, you're not going to. Take this also, our whole winter blues idea, take it back to the weather. We're not getting outside. We're not getting enough sunlight. get outside, bundle up warm, and take a few walks around the block.
Yeah.
You know, apply these things. When you do read about the true state of seasonal affective disorder, proper health, proper nutrition, getting enough sleep, frankly, living a healthy lifestyle to the best that you can, but owning it, looking at your lifestyle, analyzing what's healthy, what's not healthy, doing the best you can. It's going to help a lot of things. It's not perfection. It doesn't mean life is a beautiful, mystical dream, but life isn't, generally speaking. You do the best you can with what you have, and you just keep going forward. But analysis, awareness, and looking at the tools that are available. Do you need more sleep? Do you need better nutrition? Get outside, get some exercise.
Yeah.
All things might help.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess some of us are better and some of us are worse at just managing your thoughts. You see, because I feel that maybe there's a reason why I brought up this whole idea of self-pity. If this generally kind of upset and slightly downward disposition that is winter blues, right? If it obsessively goes back and back to your own persona in a self-blaming way, then maybe it is something different. And no, I'm not saying it's anything clinical, but yeah, it may be this self-pity where you need to deploy all the tools or just completely cut it out. I noticed that sometimes it does happen to me, right? And I literally have to control my thoughts, like thought by thought. Literally, if a thought of a particular kind gets in my head, I have to catch it right there, and I'm good at it now. And I have to say, stop. No, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just going to go and whatever, do makeup.
Do something else,
look at my beautiful persona in the mirror, or do something else. And my biggest bane is at night. I recently, this particular winter, I have been experiencing it severely. I can't fall asleep because those thoughts that we've been talking about, those thoughts are coming. And so my salvation was just listening to podcasts. I fall asleep so well and so fast when I start listening to something that has nothing to do with me, educational materials mostly that I'm listening about, something about, the universe, intelligent design, something interesting and fascinating and maybe scientific. So just taking your mind completely off the subject. Okay, well, now...
I want to interject one thing, though. One thing that I would say, if you are really having problems and true dreariness, and it's very easy to say control it, don't think about it, distract yourself, try these things. But I think we shouldn't be afraid to ask for help. And don't be afraid. We live all kinds of lives. We have all kinds of things going on in our mind, all kinds of chemical processes. Working with kids, and here in New York City, kids from all kinds of cultures, some cultures, when the idea of mental health comes up, the idea of maybe they need to talk to a therapist, talk to a counselor, and we have some people that no, like it's something terrible and shameful. I would beg of everyone, please don't feel this way. Please don't think there is any shame, any failure, anything wrong. If you're feeling it, it's legit. It really is. Now, to what degree you need help, or to what degree, and we all know some people that I think make their lives worse, that they are perfectly fine, perfectly healthy, have a lot of stuff, but they always want to complain and they like to complain, and it's a habitual thing. Well, maybe they'll realize that and maybe they won't. But then with plenty of other people, depression, anxiety, if it's really affecting your life and affecting your sleep, and it's not something that's over in a season when spring comes, explore help and don't be ashamed and don't feel bad about it. Do what you need to do to get yourself comfortable. You know yourself, and if something doesn't feel right, I'm not saying that there is always going to be a remedy, because in my own family, very dear, lovely family members, intelligent, capable, fantastic people, with partners, with children, with beautiful homes, with jobs, suffering from crippling anxiety on a daily basis, medicated, seeing professionals. This might actually be more depressing because they are medicated. They're seeing people, and you know what? And they still suffer.
Yeah.
And I wish I could say it all goes away, but don't feel bad ever to ask for help and seek help. Just anyway, I just felt I had to put that out there. So, all right, moving on.
Oh, no. I totally agree with you. And actually, I want to switch now and talk about the remedies, right? Okay, first there is something, like, can you give me a minute or two to describe something? Because this is like a little discovery I made when I started asking around and looking for remedies for winter blues, right? Apparently in northern European countries, in particularly in Denmark, maybe Norway, there is this concept of coziness. In Danish, it sounds something like hygge, spelled Hygge. So look it up online, people. Cool. What is it? It's coziness lifestyle, making your nest very cozy and safe, to ward off boredom, cold, dark winter nights, the sameness of the winter, and all those winter blues, depressive monsters from the outside. The definition of this coziness lifestyle, I found a couple, like a form of everyday togetherness. How about that? Focus on everyday wholeness and the sense of safety. Cool, right? Important. It's not about the interior of your house. Not that kind of coziness. I mean, it includes it, but it's more like a holistic type of self-care, specifically aimed at creating a safe, cozy nest. So, people who practice it say that it requires conscious, careful approach to what you do at home, a certain slowness and ability to not just be present, but to recognize and enjoy that presence. And that's precisely what we've been talking here in our Life is Cake conversations for all these years, right? Listen about these two methods of creating coziness. First, being aware of the good moment. Wow! Two, creating simple rituals without effort. What kind of ritual? Like, for instance, brewing your tea, not in a hurry, but really enjoying the process and designing the process, right? Stopping at a flower shop every week, or maybe lighting a candle with every meal. How about that, right?
A scented candle.
I know. I'm totally converted. I'm thinking maybe I would like to research it a little more and suggest maybe you should research this. What do you think?
Oh, I think it could be wonderful. I love my cozy nest.
Yeah.
And some rituals are easy.
Yeah.
Every day when I get home
but
from
you
work,
see,
it's tea.
it's not just the cozy nest, it's not just the interior, but it's what you do in that interior. It's
Get home and have
the
your tea.
habits of coziness more than the look of coziness. And as always, I made some research, came up with a list of remedies. So I'm going to just, list some remedies and see what Tanna thinks about them. First thing that I found, which it's very technical, but I think it's amazing. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to. Have you heard about sunrise alarm clocks or dawn simulators?
Yeah.
People, so it's an alarm clock, right, that starts by a little glimmer of light. And then the light comes more and on and on and on, because when you're sleeping, you still absorb some light. And so as the light is coming on, you start producing less melatonin, more serotonin, whatever, vitamin D. So you start waking up for sure. Not like you hear some kind of alarm and you're like waking up, jumping there. And usually a lot of these clocks, these dawn simulator clocks, which start with light, right? They also will have nature sounds. How would you like to wake up to some bird singing? And yes, those birds singing are very delicate, but by that time you've been already awakened by light.
Nudged awake.
So you don't need somebody, like pour water from a teapot on you to wake you up. Okay, next thing, I tried it. and it really worked for me. Light box. Have you tried it?
No.
A little daylight light box. So I don't have it right now, but I've had this. It's about this big, and it has daylight. It's kind of matte on top, right? A little stand, so it stands in front of you on the table, thing like this. The one that I had, I guess the brand maybe was Happy Light. Seriously, I bought it like a very long time ago, and it worked for me. So the recommendation is you put it in front of you when you're working, even if you're working with computer or whatever, for a couple hours. Just for a couple hours, that happy light is just standing there. You're producing your serotonin and your vitamin D, because your body doesn't know that it's not daylight. As far as your body is concerned, it is daylight, okay? So, yes, on my list, and Tanna has already mentioned, daytime walks, right? Daytime, because, you know, it's dark outside right now. And right now, you know, we're sitting chatting here. It's like, what, maybe 5 o'clock or whatever?
5:30 maybe,
It's deep darkness since maybe 3:30 or something like this here in New York City. So, yeah, in daytime, maximizing your exposure to light. What do you think about this? Aromatherapy. And you know, generally, when I hear aromatherapy, I kind of think some kind of fluff, right? But it's not fluff in this case. Guess what? I will read a bunch more of these remedies to you, and you will immediately recognize a lot of them. The whole goal here, I guess, is simulating the feeling of summer. Right? So in summer, what is aromatherapy? How about a smell of flowers or leaves,
or the beach,
or a beach? The smell, like after rain, that ozone, whatever, the smell of dirt.
But it can also be sensory distraction.
Yes.
If you're pleasing all your senses.
Yeah, it's true too. But also, again, you know that it's like fluffy aromatherapy, but your body doesn't. You know, your mind doesn't. It feels like maybe it's summer. And another thing that you can do in addition to that flowery or, you know, fresh aromatherapy, how about if you research and get yourself at home some summery soundscape? There are lots of these apps on your phone, on your iPhone with summery scapes. There is, the little stream, the sounds of a stream, the rustling of the leaves, the little birdies chirping somewhere. Again, you know, it may not trick your conscious, but it will trick your subconscious together. So it is recommended. I haven't come up with it myself. Recommended for winter blues. Aromatherapy, summery soundscapes. How about this? Warmth therapy. And that means literally a bubble bath or a visit to a spa.
Well, I mean, come on.
No, seriously. Seriously. You just trick yourself into feeling more warm, summery, you know, anything. Aromatherapy, chirping birds, soundscapes. Take a bubble bath. It's not your beach, but, you know, your body is not sure what it is. You know, it's just together with your aromatherapy and seriously, you just try it. Okay, how about this? You will approve this one, right? I have skeptics.
Maybe.
The skeptics. How about this? Color. Add color to your interior. Just add pink somewhere, right? Anywhere. Like, it can be a tablecloth. It can be some kind of throw on your sofa. It can be wallpaper like this. You know, whatever. Color in your interior.
Again, it's giving, I think, pleasure to your senses. You're distracting your senses from the bleakness with a happy color that you enjoy, and a happy scent.
Yeah, and you also trick yourself into thinking that into feeling like it's summer. Yes, it's warm, kind of slightly more carefree environment. Okay, maximizing interior light. For instance, maybe you have curtains on your windows, and these curtains are like, they're kind of obscuring part of the light that comes because it's pretty, and you had these curtains since summer. Well, tear those curtains off the window. You need every little bit, every little ray of that sunlight. That's what I would do. And the recommendation is also put mirrors on the walls, somewhere close to your window, where those mirrors or that one mirror catches the sunlight, so you can double it.
I like mirrors.
Again,
so
it's-
I'm not arguing, but I have that year round.
All right. Socializing. Well, socializing helps you anyway, right? Again, maybe in summer or in warmer times we socialize more because we're outside.
It's easier,
We're going places. Well, that's it. You mentioned winter sports is another recommendation to kind of embrace winter, but it depends on your logistics. Skating and skiing. We have skating rinks here in New York City, and I skate, so that is joyful. You start thinking about cold in a more positive way when you're going skating. Maybe if you're in the countryside and in the north where there is some snow, to try skiing. Another thing. That's about it for my list. I mean, the last there is just the general thing that would be recommended, just simply distraction. Reading or museums. I would always recommend museums. I go to Metropolitan Museum of Art with my son and his friend once a month for sure. And I think of it as cultural education for my kid. I prepare a tour and we do, your ancient Greece or ancient Egypt or, Renaissance jewelry or something like that, life of Jesus and painting, something that educates him. But what I notice is it actually helps me. I focus on something interesting in some cultural depth, and my mind goes away from the everyday things, from anything, from my everyday struggles to logistics, of taking kid to school or coming up with his lunch. And I'm not very good at cooking, so it's a struggle every single day for me. But yeah, suddenly walking into the magical world of beauty, culture, history, that is tremendously helpful.
Right. Well, and planning diversions, planning to go do something with friends, and the weather might be garbage, but make a plan and stick to it if you can. Go and see people, see things. It distracts you.
Shopping. Remember that saying, there is no bad weather, there are only bad clothes. Well, buy yourself some new clothes.
Never heard that saying. I think you made that up.
No, it's a British proverb. Actually, the idea is not bad clothes, meaning the clothes are not warm enough. There is no cold weather.
Okay.
There are only clothes that are not warm
not
enough.
suitable
but,
for the...
Let's do some shopping, people. Shopping therapy. Not like wastefully shopping, but a little bit with maybe a
Thrift store.
girlfriend. A thrift store, exactly. So you
That's our
know
favorite.
for sure you're not going to splurge. You'll just go look up, donate all your old stuff there, and this is a good reason to go to a thrift store.
Two birds with one stone.
Yeah, you get your bag with
find
stuff to donate. You go there, you look around, get yourself a couple vintage glasses for your kitchen, and that's lovely. And maybe a nice silk scarf or something.